It's a little over $800 a month. I started from nothing and it's been profitable ever since. More than $1,000 out of this little window in a 5-hour period. I've just built it right from the ground up, literally. So I'm Monty, your old pal Monty, Used Guys Dogs, and now it's just Used Guys. And I originally started this in 2012 as Used Guys Sausage, and then it kind of developed into the hot dog place. The guy who was doing the sausage, my business partner, he retired, and so here I am. I've been waiting for this window since 2017. I knew it would work, and I finally got in 2021. I got a chance to get in, and I've been here ever since.
What led you to get like a storefront compared to like a cart or a food truck? Why didn't you go that route?
When we had Used Guys Sausage, we were making it raw and then selling it, and my vision was we make it raw in the store and sell it hot, and people could take it home, but they could also cook it and have it eaten in the store. And we couldn't do that then. So then my idea was to get a hot dog cart or get a store where we could sell it hot. That didn't happen. And in 2019, I got a hot dog cart and I started doing farmers markets. And then from there, like I said, I've been waiting on this window. I knew this was a great location. And then I got in here and I'm looking for a second location next year now.
And what kind of investment did you have to make to get into this spot?
When we started Used Guys Sausage, and I keep referring back to that because that's where this all happened, is we literally were sitting at a kitchen table over some wine, Sambuca, great food, putting this together, and we just had the money in our pockets. We didn't borrow any money or anything. And the same thing with this. When I opened it up, it was just the money I had, and I started from nothing, and it's been profitable ever since.
Can you talk about your menu and what you serve, and then talk about your hours and stuff like that?
So on our menu, I kind of do the traditional hot dog, chili dog. I do a really good Chicago dog. I went to Chicago to make sure to get it right. We also have a couple of things like the Nacho Libre, which is a little cheese, some chili, some onions, some jalapenos, a little special sriracha and Fritos on top. The South Street dog right there, barbecue and macaroni and cheese and bacon. And then we also have a vegetarian menu, which is doing really well. Our plant-based menu is right here, and it is actually 10% of my sales and growing. So I try to have something for everybody. I try to invent more hot dogs as I go along, just what toppings. Hot dogs like an empty canvas, you can put whatever you want on it. And so there I go from there.
What's your most popular hot dog?
It depends on the day. Like today, it seems like the New Yorker and the Chicago dog are big. Usually it's a chili dog though. Chili dog is probably my #1 seller, followed closely by Chicago dog, and then some of the specialty dogs, New Yorker, among others. The Jaddy chili and cheese. The story on the Jaddy is I was in the Navy and we were in France and we were on the Liberty launch. We were on the dock to go to Liberty launch to go on the ship. I was on an aircraft carrier. And the French merchants they take your food and wrap it really tight, and then you would take it on the ship and unwrap it, and it turned into this amazing goodness. And so I just took that idea and take a hot dog with chili and cheese and do the special way that they wrapped it, and it somehow melds all the flavors together. As that one lady said, she just loved it. When I was starting out to do hot dogs, I didn't know anything about hot dogs. I'm not a chef, I'm not a cook, but we did make sausage, and the guy that I was in business with making sausage was amazing. So I learned some stuff. Anyway, I want to make a Chicago dog. If I'm going to do a Chicago dog, I feel the only place to do that is to go to the school in Chicago, which is all the hot dog places. So I had my little hoodie on with the name on here because I already had the business up a little bit, and I went to like 13 places over in Chicago, and most of the places just looked at me and said, "What? Get out of here!" You know, they thought I was just trying to steal from them or whatever. Finally, this one guy, thank God, I think it was like Colonel Mustard or something, Mustard's Last Stand or something like that. He goes, "Oh, you really want to learn how to make a hot dog, a Chicago dog?" I'm like, "Yeah, yes. I'm from Kalamazoo. I just want to do it right for them." He goes, "All right, come around here." And he shows me how to do it, and he shows me how the order everything goes on, and he was very much anti-cucumber. He was total pickle, which I think is the better way anyway. And he has me do one, and he's like, "All right." And at the end, like, he tells me, he goes, "Listen, if I catch you messing up these dogs, I'm gonna come to Kalamazoo and I'm gonna mess you up." And like, he was one of the old Chicago guys that were like that. It scared the crap out of me. But to this day, I am told I make one of the best Chicago dogs outside of Chicago.
And are you mainly serving lunch and dinner? Do you ever do late nights?
I want to work into late nights. The area is just not conducive to that right now. But my hours are Tuesday through Friday, 12 to 4. And I DJ, so I don't work Saturdays, but I'm trying to fit more Saturdays in and more hours. I'm just kind of, as Kalamazoo, as the downtown area comes back, I'm kind of expanding my hours along with it. And a lot of great things are happening down here. So I'm looking forward to the future.
And how do you get your customers? Is it mainly walk by? Are you doing any online advertising? What does that look like?
Again, back to Used Guys. With Used Guys, we did the whole blitz. We were on the radio, we were advertising, doing the full on. With this, I wanted to do the reverse of that. I wanted this to be a word of mouth place, like that cool little place where you know that you can tell a friend, like, hey, I found this place. So it's been completely word of mouth. There's no advertising. I do some social media, but basically that's it. I've just built it right from the ground up, literally.
What are some of the main expenses that come with your business here?
Believe it or not, the food costs are probably the main expense now because the prices have gone up so much and I've tried to hold the line on it. Obviously, it's an 84 square foot space, so overhead isn't an issue. It's basically just been food costs, which I've been able to handle it because it's a hot dog. You're only going to charge so much no matter what. So I've just been kind of holding the line on it and just hoping that prices don't go up more, but I'm doing fine right now.
How much do you pay for this little space here?
With parking and everything, it's a little over $800 a month. So it's perfect. So when I was first starting, I was listening to some podcast, and I'm not the podcast guy, but I was listening to a podcast from the guy from Five Guys. He was talking about how they started the business. And one of the things he said, they said, his sons assigned him the job of buying the ingredients for the food. And so he just knew how to buy the best stuff. That's all he knew. And that's one of the reasons Five Guys is so good, because they have quality ingredients. I don't know if they still do. And I have the same thing. It's like, I will not skimp. I will not buy the cheapest mustard because mustard went up, or the cheapest. I buy the good stuff, the stuff that, the right kind of bacon, the right kind of chili, the right kind of everything, because it pays off when I give it to my customers. And I don't want to ever do that. Even if I have to eat it a little bit on the money side, or if they raise the price, I think people will pay more if, when they get the product, there's a satisfaction. You know what I mean? They feel like they got their money's worth. A lot of companies, that's your downfall. You start going to the cheap stuff to save money, and I think that's the beginning of the end. And trust me, it's hard now with the price of everything going up. So the other thing is how I source my food. I'm a label reader, so I try to get stuff that's the cleanest food without preservatives and chemicals that aren't necessarily needed to be in there. So when I was looking for my hot dogs, I do a dirty water style dog, which means it's in water. So some hot dogs they're gonna lose and they're gonna turn to mush. And I tested a bunch of hot dogs, and I actually found Michigan hot dogs to be of a better quality, and here's why. Back in the day, Michigan had a higher standard for the meat, how the meat was processed, the fat, the water content, all that. The local companies like the Hormels and the ballparks of the time actually sued Michigan, and in 1972 went to the Supreme Court and lost because they said they want the USDA standard, not the Michigan standard. But the company I go for, the first ingredient is beef, not mechanically separated beef, which is where you can get the myth of the parts. So it's actual just beef. There's none of the crap in it. And same thing when we did the sausage. We kept it as simple and honest as you can do it. And when I get my ingredients, I find the stuff that's the less processed just tastes better, is better. Its lifespan isn't as long, so you got to constantly watch waste, but it's worth it because the result is the customers get a better product that's as healthy as I can make a hot dog. You know what I mean? Same thing when we did sausage. We're making it as healthy as you can make a sausage.
What are some positives and negatives to operating your own restaurant?
Well, if anybody's been in the restaurant business, they already know the negatives. You know, your margins can be thin. You've got to watch your food waste and food costs. But for me, that's why I chose hot dogs. I mean, hot dogs are a universal food. They're basically a recession-proof food. It's not the product. I love selling the hot dogs, but it's just the exchange with customers. I just have fun, and the hot dogs are just part of it. So that's really the biggest positive.
Can you talk about the future and how you plan on expanding and growing, and what does that look like?
Like I said, I started this little window as more of a proof of concept, make sure I could, and kind of honing the hot dogs the way I wanted and working the menu. And now I've got a 5-year plan, and basically next year we're looking at a second space where we'll actually be able to cook more foods. I lived back east for a while, so I want to bring back some of that flavor, like an authentic Philly hoagie and cheesesteak, maybe a chopped cheese sandwich that nobody knows about, and some other good things, and just make it a really fun aesthetic and a great place to hang out, and there happens to be food there. So that's the next. My son, who is a manager of a large company that sells food, is in Ann Arbor, and he is looking to join me soon. And then he'll take over the management of the place, and then we'll just have a good time. I want to maximize probably 3 stores and then see where it goes from there. But the plan is to kind of expand this and expand the menu and everything and keep this little window.
Is there any day that was like one of your best days, like your most sold? If you could talk about that.
Yeah, I've had a few days where I've sold like a lot. A couple of days, I've actually pulled more than $1,000 out of this little window in a 5-hour period. Kalamazoo does a lot now. The shop owners have kind of got together, and we put on, every month, we put on something in the zoo. There's dads in the zoo, kids in the zoo, dogs in the zoo. The events down here always work great for me. People love coming to the mall. I mean, this is the historic Kalamazoo Mall, so they love coming down here. And like I said, it's a walk-up place. You can grab some food and go. So I've had a lot of good days. It's rare that I have a low day, a slow day, even like today. It's rare.
Do you operate only during the summer or at all seasons?
I tried going 12 months, but January is just, so I take the month of January off, I shut it down, and then I kind of strategize on how I'm going to have the next year go and everything like that. So it's a nice way, it's a nice break to get everything. And I also go back to New York. My youngest daughter lives with her mom there. So I go back there and hang out in New York and see if I can steal some cool ideas.
You said that you knew, like when you put mustard on, how much that is. Is there anything that you can share with that?
For all my prices, these prices are out the door prices. That's tax and everything included. I also don't like change. I'm not gonna lie, I hate change. So I would, if it was like, it came out to like $2.90, I would just round it up to $3. So, and it's just easier just to do with cash like that. But also I cost out everything I have. And sometimes you have to learn as you go, like how much portions are gonna cost. But once you have that, then figure out the cost of every one of your products. And then I have a formula, it's 3.5 times. I use that as my markup and then just go from there. And sometimes people say it's too expensive, but I don't know what to tell you. Most people think it's the cheapest thing on the mall. So I never worry about that because I know that my numbers are correct and it's all a formula. I'm not gouging anybody. I'm not trying to overcharge. So I know I'm giving fair pricing and I let it go at that.
Do you see people buying like pops and chips often with orders, or is it just vary?
In the summer especially, that's one of my little hidden gems is the pop and the chips are $1. And I did that originally when I was in the farmer's market because the other people were selling cans of pop for like $2. And I said, and $1.50, and I said, I'll undercut everybody and then I'll be the only place that can sell pop because nobody will go to them. And that's exactly what happened. And I've just kept that philosophy. So, and I still make money on those, but they're not loss leaders per se, but yeah, I'm not making really anything on them. And it does get a lot of people who stop in and just want to get a pop and then go, oh, wait a minute, I'll get a hot dog. You know what I mean? Once they come here once, they're more likely to come here again. And if they come here because they're getting a soda or chips, they'll be back for a hot dog. I don't do meal deals because of the dollars, but I do, yeah, in the summer I have a lot more sales. And then some of my friends next door here, the artists next door, they get a lot of pop and chips.
Do you see a lot of people paying with cash or credit card more?
I'm about 60-40 credit card to cash, or card to cash, yeah. And it's been pretty steady. It varies between like 65-35, but yeah, it's pretty steady that, which I don't mind. And I use Square and I love Square because it only takes the little percentage. It's about 1% of my total costs because like I said, cash doesn't get charged. And then I have analytics from Square that are just fantastic.
What are 3 tips of advice that you have for any other entrepreneurs out there?
Do your due diligence. Understand the product you're selling. Is it something that people want? I know a lot of times you get people start a business because they want to sell this. If there's not a market for it, you're not going to succeed. So make sure you know the market you're in. Most importantly, know your numbers, know your costs. I know how much it costs when I put mustard on my hot dogs. Knowing those costs makes it so much easier to set your pricing, to understand where your profit is, and take care of your business. If you know your numbers, stay on top of your numbers and your numbers will take care of you. And the final thing is customer service. I think customer service is a lost art nowadays. And I think the better your customer service, just the better your business is going to be, period. I've been self-employed since '97. I was a mobile DJ and still am to a certain extent. And now I have this. I think the biggest problem with being an entrepreneur is people are afraid. Don't be afraid, just try it. If you believe in it, you know, and it's good, the money will come. And if you fail, learn from your failure. That's pretty simple. I mean, don't be afraid to fail, you know. If tomorrow that people stop getting hot dogs, first thing is figure out why. Second thing, I would learn from it and move on to something else.